If you've been struggling with an addiction or you have a loved one struggling with an addiction, I want to introduce you to a new tool that is an absolute game changer. And her name is Amber AI. That's right. She is a clone, a digital clone of my brain. It sounds super science fiction-y, right? And to be honest, it feels a little science fiction-y. But AI has come a long way. And it's to the point now that I've had the opportunity to be able to download all the content I've ever created. That's every YouTube video, every online course, every worksheet, every workbook, every case study, every workshop that I have ever done or published into the brain of Amber AI. Now, if you're familiar with AI like ChatGTP, the interaction style is similar, but there's a huge difference. The big difference is that ChatGTP or other general AIs, they take information from all over the web. So you end up with a very watered down, overly generalized piece of advice or information. Amber AI is different because she's trained specifically on my techniques, strategies, and philosophies. I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever been this excited about anything I've ever created, including any video, any online course, anything. The reason I'm so excited is because this tool is going to be able to help so many more people than I've ever been able to help before. And those of you who know me, you know I am extremely passionate about helping not just people with addictions, but entire family systems. It's why I created my private practice. It's why I create these YouTube videos. It's why I come on here every single Thursday live and teach you something and then answer as many questions as possible. Because for me, it's not just about helping the person that has an addiction. Because when someone who has an addiction gets better, it changes the lives of everyone around them. And sometimes the people around those people. It literally starts a chain reaction that ripples through communities and generations. So just like I've taken everything that I've learned from 20 years of working with people who have addictions to help families get through to people who have addictions, Amber AI is going to be able to do that on a much more massive scale. The really cool thing is you can talk to her 24/7. That's right. When the you know what hits the fan at 2 a.m., you can literally call up Amber AI and have conversation. Or maybe if you're trying to be quiet because it's 2 a.m., you want to have a little text conversation with her. It's so much more effective than, let's say, jumping on one of the Thursday live videos. Not that I want to downplay those. Obviously, I like them, I do them, and I do feel like they're helpful. But on a live video, you get to put like a sentence or two in the chat, and then I try to come up with an answer for you based on a couple of sentences and no context. And I do my best, but let's face it, it's not really enough to be tailored specifically to your situation. With Amber AI, you can have an entire back and forth conversation with her. And not only that, but she'll remember your conversations from one time to the next, which is really cool because you don't have to start over. As you have these conversations, she learns more and more about your situation and can give you more tailored, specific advice. So essentially, it's like talking to me, only Amber AI, significantly smarter than I am because she can speak all those languages and I definitely can't. And she can remember everything I've ever said, written, or produced. And unfortunately, my memory is just not that good. I find Amber AI gives much more thorough answers than I do in real life. I gotta admit, I'm partially excited and a little jealous of Amber AI. Probably the best way to help you understand is just to demonstrate it for you. So let's meet Amber AI and see exactly how she works. All right, so here she is. This is Amber AI, and you can either call her and talk to her with your voice, just like you would anyone else on the phone, or you can have a chat with her like you would anyone else, just a text conversation. One of the things I've noticed that I think is really interesting is that a lot of people will talk to Amber AI about stuff that they may even feel a little intimidated to talk to me in person about. Some stuff in addiction recovery is just, it feels a little embarrassing to talk about, or maybe we don't want to admit it, or maybe we don't want to talk about it because we don't want to feel like we're being pushed into doing something that we don't feel like we're ready to do. And so a lot of times people will be more open and honest with Amber AI than they will with not just myself, but with any counselor, and especially with a group of people. Let me show you an example of that. All right, here we go. So this one says, "Hey, Amber AI, I had a relapse a couple of days ago. Yes, I know we had a session and I didn't tell you in session because I felt kind of embarrassed about it. But now I'm trying to decide if I need to tell my wife. I think she suspects it, but she hasn't said anything about it. Any advice? Here's what Amber has to say. She says, "First off, I want to say I'm really glad you're sharing this now. It takes a lot of courage and it shows you're serious about your recovery. Relapses happen, it's part of the process for many people, but how to handle it now is what really matters. When it comes to telling your wife, I'd say, yes, you should, and here's why. Addiction thrives on secrecy. Keeping it hidden might seem like the easier route in the short term, but it can actually make things harder in the long run. If she already suspects something, not addressing it could erode the trust even more. And trust is a huge part of rebuilding your relationship in recovery. When you do tell her, keep it simple and honest. You don't need to go into every little detail unless she asks. Just acknowledge what happened, take responsibility, and let her know what you're doing to get back on track. For example, you may say something like, I had a slip a couple of days ago. I'm really sorry. I want to be honest with you about it. I'm working on figuring out what triggered it and how to prevent it from happening again. Also, be prepared for her reaction. It might be hurt, anger, or even a little relief that you're being honest. Whatever it is, stay calm and listen. This is about rebuilding trust, and that takes time and consistency. What do you think? Does this feel like something you can do? I gotta say, I think that does sound probably pretty similar to the advice that I would give. So I think she's pretty on target with this one. What do you think? Let's try one more. This time we're coming from the spouse perspective. It says, I have a very strong feeling that my wife relapsed a couple of days ago, but she hasn't admitted it. Basically, I found all of her empty bottles in the bottom of the trash can. Should I confront her? All right, here's what she says. It sounds like you're in a tough spot, and I can tell you're really trying to figure out the best way to handle this. Finding those bottles must have been a gut punch, especially if you've been working hard to rebuild trust. Here's the thing, how you approach this can make a big difference in how it plays out. If you're going to bring it up, I suggest you do it in a way that's calm and non confrontational. Instead of accusing her outright, you could say something like, Hey, I noticed some bottles in the trash and it's been on my mind. I just want to check with you. How are you doing? This opens the door for her to share without feeling attacked. It's less about catching her in the act and more about creating a space where she feels safe to be honest. Now, be prepared for a range of responses. She might deny it, minimize it, or even get defensive. It's pretty common. But your goal here isn't to force an admission, it's to let her know that you're aware and you're willing to support her if she's struggling. If she does admit to the relapse, try to focus on what comes next rather than dwelling on the slip itself. What steps can you both take to get back on track? How does this approach feel? Do you think she'd be open to that kind of conversation? Let's try this. So here's what I want to say back. So let's say this back to Amber and see what she says. In the past, I found that she's a lot less defensive if I send it in a text or an email. Could you help me write a text that I could send her? All right, here's what Amber AI says back. You're absolutely right. Mentioning the bottles could be important, especially since it's weighing on your mind. The key is how you bring it up. If you decide to include it, keep it in a neutral tone and avoid making it feel like an accusation. Here's how you could tweak that text. Hey, I wanted to check with you. I noticed some bottles in the trash and it's been on my mind. I just want to see how things are going and let you know I'm here for you if you need to talk or if there's anything I can do to support you. This way, you're acknowledging what you found without jumping to conclusions or putting her on the defensive. The approach keeps the focus on concern and support rather than blame, which can help her feel more comfortable opening up. How does this feel for you? Now, one of the really cool things that I like about Amber AI is that if she gives you a piece of advice that maybe it doesn't feel exactly right, you can just tell her that. In real life, you might worry that you're going to offend someone or hurt their feelings. But it's kind of cool talking to an AI because you can just be like, nah, I think you're missing the mark. Or I think you should probably understand this about my wife first. And you can continue to give Amber AI the details of your situation so that she fully understands you and you get the best possible advice. As you can see, you can pretty much talk to her about any of the topics that you hear me talk about on YouTube or any topic that you'd want to talk to me about in a session. Because having conversations with Amber AI is it's the second best thing to talking to me in person. Well, admittedly, but it can be really hard to get an appointment in real life. First of all, they're kind of expensive. And secondly, when you need advice, you usually need it kind of like right now, not in 10 days or 2 weeks when there's an appointment open. If you've ever had one of those moments where you're thinking, what would Amber say to do right here? You are going to absolutely love Amber AI. I've put a link in the description for those of you who want to learn more. And if you've already been playing around with Amber AI, I would love it if you would put your feedback in the comments below, because I think it'll go a long way helping other people understand exactly how Amber AI works and what the uses are and all that kind of stuff.